Hi people. So today I'm gonna be attempting to fix my tach. My tach has a few issues here and there. The RPM needle usually has a lot of issues, and I know this is common with most Nissans. I know the 350Z. I have a few friends who have 350Zs that have similar problems. What usually happens is that the RPM needle, sometimes it gets stuck at 4K or 5K or 6K, and then you have to tap it in order to get it back to zero RPMs. The other day, actually, what happened to me was it got stuck at around 5.5, 5500, and then I tapped it, and this motherfucker, this thing this thing fell all the way down. It fell all the way down here. So what I did was I shut off the engine, and when I turned it back on, it got stuck at 0, because there's this little pin over here, so the needle went all around and got stuck there. Okay, so today I'm gonna be attempting to see if I can fix this. Usually when your speedo or your tach is having issues, it's probably just like loose connections or like loose solder joints. So what I'm gonna do is take this thing out and see if I can reflow all the solder joints, and just to see if that will fix it. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna be doing today. As far as taking this off, it's quite simple. You just have to remove these two screws, and then there's two other screws in the bottom somewhere over here, and then just pull this thing off, and you can just take the whole thing out. So that's what we're gonna be doing. Alright guys, so I took off the whole instrument cluster, and this is it right here. This was what I was thinking. This was my theory. I was thinking that turn it around. Okay. I was thinking maybe some of the solder joints in the back had come loose. Okay, that's what I was thinking. But looking at it, it's very unlikely. Again, it is possible, and it's hard to just check solder joints by just looking at them, because it could look good but it might be broken. But I think it's very unlikely, and I don't have the I'm not in the mood, or I don't have the desire to reflow every single solder joint on this thing. I just don't feel like doing that. So I have a different theory. Okay, let me turn this around real quick. Okay. Alright guys, I actually noticed something very, very important. Okay, check this out. Alright, so I just put the RPM needle back, and when I turn it with my hand, I don't know if it's safe to do that, but I already did it, so fuck it. So when I turn the needle with my hands, right, it's really smooth. Like, you could tell it's really smooth, right? Until it gets to 4K. Once it gets to 4K, it becomes like hard. There's some resistance in there somewhere. You see that? You can even hear it. If you like, you can hear it. I think this black part is rubbing on this little film right here. I think that's what it is, because then here it's smooth. Check out how smooth that is. But then here it's like hard. So I'm gonna try to reposition this guy to get rid of that resistance between 4 to 6K. Alright guys, so I took off all the needles and then put them back on. And basically, I think the needles were just on too tight. That's just what it was. The needles were on too tight. You want the needles to be like this part. It has to be on like snug, but not too tight to the point where the black part of this thing is touching this part. So check this out. See how smooth that's turning now? Notice it's like really smooth. That's how it's supposed to be. If your needle is getting stuck, chances are this thing is too tight. So it's rubbing on this thing. That's why it's getting stuck in there somewhere.
A few moments later.
Alright guys, we encountered our first problem. Okay? So once you take off the needles and put them back on, it kind of offsets everything, because the needles, like the electric motor that controls them, it's like a servo. So like it's been calibrated already. So once you take those little needles off, you're gonna fuck up the calibration. So, you know, mine is like all fucked up now because I took off the needles. Okay guys, so this is what I'm gonna attempt to do. I'm gonna attempt to reset them manually whilst the ignition is on. I know where the needles are supposed to be, so I'll put them right back where they're supposed to be, and we'll see how that fixes. We'll see if that's gonna fix that. Okay, so after tinkering with it for a while, I think I was able to set them back to where they're supposed to be. What I used was I used Talk Pro. You know, the app Talk Pro, you can check your temperature and you can check your RPM. So I just used that to like know what RPMs I'm at, and I was able to calibrate it back to where it was supposed to be. So this is with the key in the on position. The temperature looks like it should be there because the car is already warmed up. Gas looks pretty okay. These two look good. Okay, so started it. It's at 1K right now, but it's gonna drop to around 700. So yeah, I think I got it right. So yeah, I should say this disclaimer: if you want to take off the needles, there's a way to put them in calibration mode before you take the needles off. You need to look up how to do that. Don't just pull off the needles, else you're gonna have to deal with trying to figure out where the needles are supposed to be at. Okay, so we're gonna go for a test drive and see if that fixes anything. Alright guys, so after putting everything together, I took the car for a little test run, and as you can see, everything is working as it should. The original issue which we had, which was the sticking RPM needle, that's solved. That's not there anymore, so that's good. But one issue we have is that my speedometer is off by 4 miles per hour, and my my RPMs are off by 200 RPMs. But that's a minor issue. I'll just try to recalibrate it later on. But for now, everything is working pretty good. So here are a few test runs. And oh yeah, this will be a good time to take off your headphones.